Hey guys, how you doing? My name is John with Gamester81.com and welcome to another video. This episode I'm going to be reviewing and talking a little bit more about Gunlord. This game is kind of what you would call, I guess, a homebrew game, although it's a really good game ported to the Neo Geo AES console or arcade, and just recently ported to the Dreamcast, which is the version I have here. The price difference between the Neo Geo and the Dreamcast versions is significant. So the point of this video is really to show you the differences. A lot of people wanted to see the differences between the Dreamcast version, which recently came out, and the Neo Geo version. So this video isn't necessarily a review over the game. I did a review recently. I'll put a link below. You guys can check out a video, that review, if you're curious to know about the game. It's a really fun shooter. It reminds me of Contra and Metroid and even R-Type to an extent. A lot of people who watch the review said it reminded them of a game called Super Turrican for the Super Nintendo. I never played that game before, to be honest with you, but I've seen gameplay since, and they're right, it does look a lot like that. So without any further ado, let's take a closer look at Gunlord. This is the Dreamcast version.
Gunlord was recently released and ported to the Dreamcast, and the biggest difference between the Dreamcast port of the game and the Neo Geo MVS arcade port is the price. The Neo Geo version will cost roughly around $392 US. Well, this Dreamcast version will cost only about $40 US. So big difference in price, but there are some differences as far as game goes too. First one I notice is the intro here. In the Neo Geo version, there's actually voiceover that actually reads these lines to you. Not a big deal, it's just not included in the Dreamcast version. I've noticed that this audio is actually surprisingly a lot better on the Neo Geo than this Dreamcast version. You think it'd be opposite, being a CD-based format, you think the Dreamcast version would be better. Gunlord has 3 main weapons, including this green weapon I have. I absolutely hate that weapon. In fact, I avoid getting power-ups because I'm scared I'm going to get it. I always end up dying using that weapon. It's definitely a downfall of the game in my book, but overall the other 2 weapons are really good, including this plasma weapon. There's also what they call a snake beam here, and that allows you to temporarily use it. There's a bar in the bottom corner of the screen there, and that shows the limited time to use that snake beam. You also use a super wave right there and destroy all the enemies on the screen at one time. The controls are a lot different playing on a joystick and 4 buttons like with a Neo Geo and on a standard Dreamcast controller. For example, on Dreamcast you push the left trigger to do the wheel, and there's also in the Neo Geo version you have to push down plus a button. I don't like the Neo Geo version control of that because there would be times where I actually unintentionally do the wheel and I end up falling off a platform and dying. This is the second stage of Gunlord. This is this kind of R-type style shooter. My favorite stage. There are 9 levels in Gunlord. This is probably by far my favorite. One thing that the Dreamcast version does also have that the Neo Geo version doesn't have is that it suffers from really bad lag at times. For example, in this stage, if there's a lot going on in the stage, you're approaching the last guy here, it lags really, really bad. And the Neo Geo version doesn't have that. So that's just another thing that the Dreamcast version has that suffers that the Neo Geo version does not have. So overall, the Dreamcast port of Gunlord, yes, it has its faults. It does lag at some points where the Neo Geo version doesn't. The sound isn't as good as the Neo Geo version, but it's not that bad of a game overall. The graphics are still there. You still get the 9 levels that you get in the Gunlord version for the Neo Geo. And even though the controls are a little bit different, which is to be expected, you can get used to it. They're not terrible. And if you are a Dreamcast owner, which there are a lot more Dreamcast owners out there than Neo Geo owners, I recommend picking this game up. It's a very, very challenging game. There's only X amount of continues to start with, and you can collect more continues throughout the game by collecting large purple diamonds in each stage. But it's very challenging, but the replay value of it is very, very high. So if you like shooters, you like games like Contra, you like games like R-Type, this is definitely the type of game for you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following. We'll see you soon. Happy gaming. Take care.